goodness memory. When did you start believing that Magnus could pursue a career in chess? Because obviously, if you have a great memory, you're well set for a chess career.
Well, that's an important topic because at first I was right, and then I was terribly wrong for some time. And that's an experience I'd like to share with parents, really, because Magnus had shown interests and traits that I thought would be well suited for chess, like when he was 2, 3, 4 years old. So I tried to teach him and his elder sister chess just before he turned 5. And they liked chess, and we played some typically in the autumn, like any hobby or activity that you do with your children occasionally. But chess seemed very difficult for them. So fortunately, I would say, I was mistaken and I didn't have much ambition on their behalf, because I really underestimated how difficult it is to learn chess for a child. And especially, you can learn how the pieces move, but to get 2 or more pieces to work together, that is very, very hard. So frankly, we played some chess. Magnus was reasonably interested, but I didn't have any ambitions on his behalf until he started to get really interested on his own at 7.5. So yeah, when he was 4, I thought chess might be something for him, and then I considered that a non-topic for several years afterwards, really, which was probably fortunate, although it was unbelievably stupid, because he clearly has a talent for chess.
Right. Right, and at what point did his skills surpass your own? Like, when did he become stronger than you? Because you are a very strong chess player yourself.
No, well, I'm a coffee house player, but I've been a happy amateur since I joined the club at 15. And then I played for some years until family and job took over. And when I started playing with Magnus, when he really took up chess at 7.5, 8 years old, it just took about 1 year before or 1.5 years maybe, before he surpassed me. And I remember the first time he beat me in blitz chess at 9, or 8.5 maybe even. I was quite proud because that hadn't gone very fast. And I think, although I ended higher on the resulting list in one tournament when he was 11, I think in general he surpassed me at 9. And that was, of course, very promising, because it indicated that he might have some real potential in chess. And we also heard from other people, like Simon Agdestein, when Magnus was 9, he saw one of his games, 9 and 2 months, I think, and he said that, oh, he can be a grandmaster in 5 years. So he clearly showed some potential, and it was more than enough to beat me already back then.
And what is the last time when you did beat him? Because a lot of people have been wondering that.
Well, in 5 against 5, it was probably at 9. But we played quite a lot when we were traveling in the autumn of 2003. So when I had 1 or 1.5 minutes, or he had 1 or 1.5 minutes against mine, 8.5 or 9, then I could occasionally beat him with this time handicap. So yeah, you could say I haven't beaten him for nearly 20 years, and that's not an issue really. I mean, now I could spend the whole day on the game, and he could spend 1 second for every move, and he would still beat me, and I think that's fantastic.
You don't feel any frustration, or it wasn't...
Well, as a chess player, hobby player, I can feel frustration on my own part, but not because my son is beating me. That's good news.
Right. Yeah, Tord, the creator of Stockfish, once said that it was just an amazing feeling when the engine did beat him the first time. I guess it's a similar feeling.
Yeah, you could say. Yeah.
So if you want to go, you can try Play Henrik, just released now in the Play Magnus app, so feel free to challenge Henrik yourself.
I've tried, but it's pretty hard.
Yeah, you were really tricky back then.
Myself.
Even trickier, I can say. And as he is an incredible chess player, he has like a huge competition instinct, as we say in Norwegian, and that means that obviously he dislikes losing, which he has said that he is a sore loser. He really hates it. Is there something that he hates more than losing in chess?
Isn't that enough? Well, he hates losing also in soccer, football, and other sports in general. Any games, he hates losing really. And I thought it would be my task to teach him to lose with grace in chess. And I tried a bit, but on the other hand, if you want to be a really top player, you have to hate losing. It has to really suck, otherwise you don't have the right mentality, I think, to continue to improve and push yourself and reach your highest potential.
I absolutely agree. And as a chess player myself, I can certainly relate to the pain of losing. And it's a common thing that like why does he get so angry? Why is he such a bad loser? Like the TV kind of pictures like that, and people who do not really have a clue, they also think that's very strange, and he's such a bad loser. I remember it was quite a big deal in the Norwegian media at some point, and Magnus made a joke. If I don't, what did he say? Like, if I don't get better, like happier when losing, I will get really angry if I don't manage to do it. But I think this is the mentality you need to have, like just as you said, because if you do not have this mentality, you will not improve.
And also, I think media, they focus on a few situations where he's been especially outspoken about his feelings or shown his feelings. Well, normally you can tackle it reasonably well, like other top players, basically. And they're all human beings.
Right. But I think that's the mentality you need to have.
Yeah.
But I'm obviously biased because I'm a very sore loser myself.
Good for you.
But now that we have talked a little bit about that, when did you realize that you could become like the best player in the world potentially, or that he had, or could you ever imagine that he would climb that high, actually become the best player that has ever lived, according to a lot of people, myself included?
I don't know if my memory serves me 100% correct, but I had the timidity, or what it's called, at one point, at least mentally, to compare his development with Kasparov's already when he was 9.5, I think. And at that point, he had started later. He was still maybe lagging somewhat, but at 9.5, I thought the sky's the limit. Really. This could go anywhere, basically.
Yeah, it really is mind-blowing to think just how can someone be that good in chess.
Well, I mean, you don't have to be that good, just a little bit better than the others. I'm partly joking, because it's, of course, the thought processes going into high-level chess, they're very complex. You need a lot of knowledge, good intuition, quick mind and all these things, good memory. But somehow, if your conceptual understanding is just slightly better than the others, it might look very impressive, but the difference can be quite small, really. And Magnus has spent a lot of time on chess. I mean, when he was 8, 9, 10 years old, etc., he talked about chess all the time. Still, I think chess is always at the back of his mind. And of course, when you spend a lot of time on the topic, you improve and you mature and develop, and what seems difficult for others can be relatively easy for you.
But it still seems like a mystery. How could you become better from like 2750 to 2850, let's say? Because that's...
you know, Magnus, he looked back 3 or 4 years ago at his level as a 20-year-old. And after all, he was the top-ranked player at 20. And he was just astounded by his lack of understanding of a lot of position at 20. when he was 25, 26 years old. He couldn't necessarily play any better over the board, but his understanding had dramatically improved also from a very high level. So I think also it's worth mentioning that the computers, they have really shown us that sky is the limit in chess. Really, that there's a lot of room for improvement. And even at 2800, you make a lot of mistakes that a computer would consider basic.
Right, yeah, and even they make mistakes.
Yeah.
Even now they tend to beat each other, which is just truly incredible, really. So a few people have asked how Magnus was as a kid. Did he have the same sense of humor as he have now? Was he as funny as now?
Well, of course, people change, but we had a lot of fun with the kids when they were young. Magnus has always had a lot of humor. He's maybe more serious as an adult, simply because there's a lot of focus on him, and people expect a lot from him. And he's, of course, aware of his position when he's interviewed or talking to fans or playing chess at a high level in tournaments. So that he's probably more fun in private than in public.
I can imagine that. That's usually the case too, because of course public you need to have a certain figure, but we've seen him joke around a lot in his banters and stuff. So maybe we've seen this private side there.
That's part of it at least,
Yeah, because he has a great sense of humor, at least. Typical dad jokes.
Yeah.
Has he learned them from you, or?
Well, there was an old saying, was it Mark Twain, I think, who said that amazingly, when he was 15, his father was a complete moron and idiot. But when Mark was 20, his father had become quite normal. And I think that's showing you that although children don't necessarily want to be like their parents, they develop some of the same traits and humor and characteristics. So I'm afraid that some of the bad jokes Magnus are making, he might have been inspired by me.
Right. And some people have asked also if Magnus had an immediate talent, or did his brilliancy just come over time?
Immediate talent?
Yeah, like immediate talent, like you learned the game and then he was incredibly
as I mentioned, chess was very hard for these kids. When he was 4.5, 5 years old, his sister was 6. So kind of, I think if anything, compared to other so-called geniuses, Magnus considers himself to be a slow learner. But in a way, he doesn't stop learning. He keeps going, and then if you keep going, you get better. And just spend enough time there, you get quite good in there. So my impression was not that he was picking up chess that early on. And in fact, one of his not trainers, but one of the people we talked to early on when Magnus was 9, he knew about Magnus's overall level of knowledge within chess, like opening knowledge and all the books he had read. And he told me in private that he was a bit surprised that Magnus didn't show even more promise or better results because he knew so much. But I think that didn't worry me at all, because I understood, I think, that even if you know a lot of stuff, to bring that into motion, kind of, and to use it actively during a chess game, that's a process that requires time, maturing, etc. So that no, Magnus was not a particularly quick learner early on, but he was, I think his main ability was this ability to focus and be interested and curious and continue to pursue knowledge and understanding. And that's the key, basically.
Right. Right. And did he have any other interests when he was a kid? Because I know he's always been fond of sports, and I believe
Yeah.
he probably was that from the very beginning, wasn't he?
Yeah, he was interested in sport, definitely. He was quite doing well at school early on, before he lost interest a bit after some time. But so he was good with numbers, geography, history. He knew a lot about politics early on, etc. But more and more, really, sports been his main interest. I think because it's an obvious and exciting way to occasionally focus on something else than chess, to get his mind away from chess. He can look at other sports, and he's quite into fantasy football, as you may know. Spending a lot of time on that, and that's a great stress reliever, I think, also during tournaments, for instance.
Right. Yeah, he did have the number one spot at some point in the world.
Yeah, a couple of times, maybe, or once maybe. Last year, yeah.
Do you have any funny stories about Magnus as a kid? Any fun stories you want to share? Because even I am curious about that, I must admit.
Well, fun stories, I don't know. Yeah, of course I have. But frankly, there's one story that is not particularly fun, although it ended well. We went, my parents had a hut up in the mountains, and we went to a local mountain top. And on one side of the mountain, this was very steep. And Magnus was sometimes, he was in good shape, so he was sometimes a bit ahead of the family. And on one of these trips, he got lost, basically. We couldn't find him, and it turned out he had taken a different route going back from the top than we had, so when we were looking for him, he was going past us. So I spent some time going up and down the steep hill, which was quite scary, basically, on the other side, looking for him, as fearing a worst case scenario. But then in an hour or so, when the others had returned to the hut, I could go out on the brink, and I could see they were waving on the roof of the hut. And then I understood, and I could also see or suspect that he was back at the hut. That was a bit scary, really. And fortunately, we've not had any serious episodes or things happening to the children, any of the children. So that's why this relatively trivial episode of him getting lost in the mountain for an hour or two was something that really sticks in my mind.
Yeah, I can imagine. Great story. Happy that it got a great ending. Otherwise, the chess world would have been slightly different than this day today. And well, you kind of talked about this too. That did you kind of make him study chess, or is this just something he did because he wanted to? Because we have this Russian dads, who, at least since my dad's also Eastern European, kind of forces the chess on you. Like, you got to study that, you got to study this, etc. My dad was kind of like that. Yeah. And how were you?
No, well, I mean, okay, there's a couple of answers I could give to that. On the one hand, the obvious answer is that no, of course not. I mean, it wouldn't have worked with Magnus, because he's always been very independent, pursuing his own interests, and if I had tried to push him, it wouldn't have worked. And maybe the success is partly, or at least, partly because we didn't kind of dampen or destroy his interest for chess in any way by pushing him in any specific direction. And I also learned when he was 9, we were looking through one of his games, and I was trying to tell him about the pawn patterns and opposite color bishops. And then a master player came over and he said, "No, that's wrong," he said. "It's not like that." And then I thought, well, that's not the first time that I've said something wrong about chess to Magnus, but it will be the last time. So at that point, when he was 9, I really completely stopped trying to teach him anything that had to do with chess. And he was also quite close to my level already at 9 and a month or 2. So it made sense anyhow. But the other way of interpreting things, that is that, well, parents, they have a lot of influence on children. So if you're subtle about it, maybe you can influence your children without them even knowing too much about it.
Seems like it did work out though. Great strategy.
Well, I leave that to the audience to guess and philosophize.
Yeah, because there have been several approaches. The you did polyglot strategy in particular is quite different,
yeah.
But it did work out as well. So.
Yeah.
And well, how much did he study? Did he spend time with his family, or maybe it compromised his time with his family that he just studied chess all day?
Well, he tried to combine it. So typically after school, he did some chess or some outdoor sports, and during dinner, he would very soon start to eat at his own table, so that he could have the chessboard and possibly a book by his side. So he would eat dinner at the same time, but at 2 different tables, and he would be doing chess while eating, basically. And my wife and I, we were maybe slightly worried about this development, but on the other hand, you could ask him things. He was, and the tables were close by, and it was just a convenient way of allowing him to pursue one of his, at that time, several interests, because he was really delving into things at an early age. And then we didn't think we should stop him, basically.
So you decided to just be his backbone this entire time?
Yeah, I mean, of course it's a dream come true if you can pursue your interests and hobbies and make a living from it, and never have to kind of suffer at work or do a lot of things that you don't really appreciate doing, really. So he's been fortunate in that sense.
Right, and well, the natural question is then, what would he do if it wasn't for chess? Would he pursue a normal career, perhaps, or maybe he would pursue different sport?
Early on, he said that, well, he would really have liked to be a top footballer, and later on, he said that, well, no, I'm happy being a top chess player. It's fine. He was very much into numbers, and as I said, I think on another occasion that I think he could have been a decent stock trader if he had been really interested in that. But being a top chess player, I mean, why should we worry about what he alternatively could have done? Although chess is a game and a hobby, it's also something that brings an enormous amount of enjoyment to audiences and people following the games. So I think he's doing something very worthwhile with his life.